Hey everyone, it's Debbie from Healing from BPD. My goodness, it has been a minute, hasn't it? If you would like me to do a life update video, which might be kind of long considering a lot has happened, let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, I wanted to let you know about a DBT skills class that I'm co-facilitating online that's starting on Monday. So if you're interested in that, check it out. One of the things that can be so exhausting if we suffer from emotion dysregulation, whether it's from BPD or past trauma, is this really intense fear of abandonment and rejection, to the extent that a simple sigh or a facial expression or a tone of voice can trigger us into worrying that someone we love is going to reject us or leave. And in this course, we address that. You are not alone if you experience this, and we'll talk about how to self-validate, how to check the facts of the situation, how to ask for support and reassurance from the other person in a healthy way, so that you can begin to reduce these types of fears so they're no longer running your life.
Another thing that we cover in our interpersonal effectiveness class is really understanding our nervous systems so that we have a sense of why we react the way we do when we feel under threat of some kind. And you might have heard these before, but we can go into fight or flight or freeze. And sometimes people talk about fawn too. But we focus on how our nervous systems are impacting how we're showing up in relationships, to know why we might feel all of a sudden the uncontrollable need to fight, or the uncontrollable need to flee or to shut down. Because those are coming from a wise instinctual place, but they can also interfere in our relationships if they're left unchecked. So a lot of our class is focused on what are our triggers, how do we know if we're going into those states, and how to regulate them so that we can stay more present and open and have a clearer understanding of what we need to do to get the outcome we want in a situation with somebody else.
As someone who personally struggled with identity disturbance as part of my journey with BPD, is that I needed to start exploring who I really was, apart from these fears of rejection and abandonment and wanting to be what other people, or what I expected other people wanted me to be in order to avoid abandonment and rejection. So in our class, we integrate a segment where we begin to explore who we are, what we like, what our values are, what our interests are, in a safe space with others where we don't have to worry about being judged or having someone not like or not approve of our choices. So we set up the safe space for that beginning of that exploration of discovering who you really are and stepping into that and living that truth.
People who are emotionally sensitive often tolerate two dynamics in their relationships. On one side, they tolerate the pattern of really high highs and then really low lows, which makes relationships really chaotic feeling. Or when things get tough, relationships just end. And so that can lead to feeling kind of alone because there aren't enough sustained long-term relationships, and the ones that are around can feel kind of unstable and chaotic. And so the three main skills that we learn in interpersonal effectiveness in our DBT class are focused on, number one, learning how to get what you want from someone without pushing that person away or making any kind of threat. Two, learning how to maintain your self-respect in a situation with someone so you don't feel like you've abandoned yourself or your values, or you're overgiving and leaving yourself. Or three, how to nurture and maintain a relationship when things are tough, because sometimes we do need to learn how to listen and validate other people so they want to be around us. So those are the three main goals that we focus on the most in this class: how to get what you want, how to maintain yourself and your self-respect, and how to maintain the relationships that are supportive and that you don't want to push away.
If you find yourself constantly prioritizing other people, sometimes this is called being a people pleaser. We want to teach you how to have compassion for that part of yourself who operates that way sometimes in relationships, and also to learn how to reduce this type of behavior so that you feel more effective in your relationships. People pleasing and putting others before ourselves all of the time can really erode self-respect. It can erode mutual respect, and it can lead to resentment over time. So we want to help you be more effective in this area if this is a concern that you're facing.
If you feel like your relationships are chaotic because you don't have healthy boundaries, then in our course, you'll learn scientifically proven skills to help you decrease chaos and increase calm in your relationships.
You'll learn how to create and maintain boundaries for yourself, as well as how to honor the boundaries of others. If you're an empath who tends to take on the emotions of others, we'll teach you how to not take on unwanted emotions while still retaining your empathic gifts.
Something that we cover in our DBT class that is not covered in traditional DBT is attachment styles. And how we attach is called our attachment style, and it's formed in early childhood. And it can affect how we relate to our most intimate partnerships in adulthood. So, for example, if you feel like you're the one who's always kind of desperately seeking someone, or if you identify as feeling more hyper independent and maybe you don't need relationships that much, then that can be a signal of your particular attachment style. And that self-knowledge of understanding where your attachment style came from, how it impacts how you show up in relationships, how much you value relationships or how much you don't, can help you find a way forward for building a life that feels more in line with what you really want and not just habitually repeating a pattern that you inherited from childhood.
For those of us who didn't have the healthiest upbringings, who didn't have the types of attachments or connections with our early caregivers as we may have hoped, having this knowledge can really help to clear things up in terms of why we show up in relationships the way we do. And in our course, when we talk about attachment styles specifically, we really address how to bring self-compassion to the parts of us that show up in relationships that feel counterproductive today, but are really just the ways that we learn to cope earlier in life. And the great thing about this is that we can nurture those parts of ourselves and learn new skills and techniques within DBT that can help us to begin to mindfully notice when those patterns are what's coming up. We want to address them so that they're not impacting our relationships today in a negative way, and that is all possible.
The thing that drew me to DBT is the focus on mindfulness. In every module, we cover mindfulness practices that help us be more in the present moment rather the past or worrying about the future, so that we can feel into what's happening for us right now. What are we thinking? What are we feeling? And what is our intuition maybe trying to tell us? And it's by being in the present moment and learning how to shift from the past or worrying about the future into right now that helps us access that deeper wisdom. And in DBT, we call that wise mind. And that's a passion of mine in DBT, which you'll see in our class.
One of the most uncomfortable parts of experiencing emotion dysregulation can be the sensations that we feel in our bodies, especially if we tend to interpret them as catastrophic or if they're really anxiety provoking. So we talk about what happens in our physiology when we're experiencing intense emotions, and we go into tools on how to support yourself to feel more grounded, more calm, and less anxious when this starts to happen in the body. We find that it's really empowering to understand the mind-body connection so that when we experience things in the body, when we're upset or scared or angry, we can understand what's happening so that this doesn't add another layer of complication to what we're already trying to deal with emotionally.
Ultimately, these skills are designed to help you create a life that is meaningful, sustainable, and filled with relationships that are mutually supportive. Because often people who are emotionally sensitive didn't learn skills to work through conflict without destroying a relationship, or set boundaries without feeling alienated, or to tolerate the boundaries of others without feeling rejected. So these skills are really honed in to help you learn how to get what you need from others in an effective way that will help you feel more secure and confident in your relationships.